Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om. Lut, did you manage it? Oh, she did manage it, yeah. Good. So I assume you understand English very well, huh?
Na verdade, não.
So you came into this class not knowing that was an English class, right? That's why I want to check with you. Você veio aqui sem saber que era uma classe em inglês, em língua inglesa, né?
Isso, professor, porque eu participei pela primeira vez nesse final de semana agora, e aí eu pensei que o link era referente à continuação das nossas aulas de língua.
Então tá. Então, ok, se você quiser ficar entre nós, talvez você possa aprender um pouco de inglês, ok? Fique à vontade. Ou se você tiver outras coisas para fazer, talvez seja melhor você ir mesmo, né?
Tá bom, querido, mas eu te vejo. Muito obrigada, professor, muito obrigada, turma.
Okay. So she has been to my Portuguese class over this weekend, and she saw the same link. She came here thinking that was also Portuguese. So we begin today from the verse 54. We covered most of it last week when Sravana and Manana resolved in the hard and fast conviction that the self is limitless. It is called nididyasanam, okay, which is a firm, clear, hard and fast, always available knowledge in respect to one's true nature. Huh? Then when Sravana and Manana resolved in hard and fast conviction that the self is limitless and I am that self, right, Elizabeth? It's not enough to talk about the self unless I say, and I am that self, right? So once
you have to live it as well.
Yes.
You have to assume, you have to live that you are awareness.
Absolutely. Well said. You have to claim, and then you have to live from that platform of knowledge. We cannot have your knowledge and your life being totally contradictory, of course. When Sravana and Manana result in the hard and fast conviction that the self is limitless and I am that self, this is called nididhyasana. It is total assimilation of the teachings, okay? Total assimilation of the understanding that I am that self, that limitless, free, and independent self. And this self-knowledge is tantamount to freedom. So we know that there are two things here we are dealing with. One is not to know who you are, and then we get to know ourselves, but it's not really a doubt-free knowledge. We know. I mean, I have been with Vedanta, and I am studying for a few years and so on, and I know I understood the rationale, I understood the teachings, and but I have certain doubts that are preventing the full assimilation or the undermining my conviction in respect to my limitless nature. I'm still confused about my limited nature, the body-mind, and my limitless nature, and I keep shifting from one another, and I'm not fully convinced that my only true nature is limitless consciousness, okay? So I often say that to my students in Portuguese language, that a lot of the people understand and they say, yes, I know I am consciousness, but they remain for a certain period of time, say, I am limitless consciousness, but I'm also the limited self, limited jiva, you understand? So it means that one is running a double identity, like one of these spies, you know? The spies, they run with several different identities. We cannot be there, say, oh no, I'm both because I enjoy media. No, you have to say, I am that self, my true nature, and this is my only real identity, although I appear in the world as the jiva, my secondary nature, which is not real. Therefore, I have no confusion about what is real and what is just an appearance. So we call that nididhyasana. It is doubt-free, it's clear, it is not subject to forgetfulness, to doubt. And without this hard and fast self-knowledge, freedom from fear, insecurity, and ignorance is not always available. We may have some moments that we feel like a rock, nothing can move me, you know? And then next moment, we may feel like, oh my God, there is real danger in this world. And now I'm shaking because my identity has shifted from consciousness to the jiva, to the body-mind complex. So we keep shifting their way. So in order to enjoy this freedom, we need to have this hard and fast self-knowledge, and only then we're going to be free from insecurity, free from desires and fears, binding desires and fears, free from the sense of incompleteness and insecurity and inadequacy and so on. So that is the fructification of self-knowledge, as we know, and it's something that grows gradually. So our first goal is to get this hard and fast self-knowledge, because once we get this paroksha jnana, and then we have crossed the final line. Okay, now I have no doubt anymore. Maya cannot deceive me. I have no doubt. Okay, and then I have to look and say, oh my God, but Maya is showing a lot of vasanas to me, you know, and these vasanas keeping saying that I am the body-mind limited, you know, complex and so on. Yeah? So it's okay. Bring it on, because now I have a doubt-free self-knowledge and I know how to deal with ignorance, okay? So even though ignorance is going to give us some trouble here and there, but our knowledge is doubt-free, okay? And then gradually we're going to become what? Freer and freer and freer from those complexities inherent to the identification with the body-mind as the body-mind, okay? So we're going to be gradually, so this is the notion of moksha, which is slightly different from self-recognition. And I tend to say that what is total freedom? Total freedom is a hard, fast self-knowledge plus a certain degree of neutralizations of ignorant vasanas that somehow makes the individual live according to its hard and fast self-knowledge. So in that, there is nothing like absolutely 100% moksha. You know, that is my take. That is my view. When we look into the text, it says, no, moksha is to know 100% for sure. And then, you know, some other aspects of the teachings is going to say that moksha is also, and most important, when the knowledge, it fructifies with a sense of total freedom, total strength, total sense of security and peace and love and so on, compassion. So it's the mind of the yoni has to be stable, because that knowledge now is a solid rock that does not move, does not, you know. And we know that in Micca, everything is a little subject, you know, the states, you know, it's subject a little bit like that. But there is such a thing as a knowledge that is not subject to forgetfulness, although there are moments that vasanas may come and invade our our reign, our lands, and then start taking over our lands, and then we have to stand and say, get out of my land. This is the land of knowledge, so there is no room for you here. So this is the play between knowledge and ignorance, which can gradually disappear, this ignorance, as our knowledge becomes more and more clear, more and more always present, to the extent that it's going to cancel the sense of doership, ownership, the ego sense. I am the I am the self, you understand? I am the self, and I'm doer of action, and I am the experience of its results. So that sense of I, ego, needs to be gradually neutralized so that one lives a life without being bothered by this fundamental ignorance. Okay? Sravana, as we know, is listening with an unprejudiced mind. So we listen to the teachings, and we listen without prejudice, without filters, without comparing Vedanta with what I know, with my other studies. So if we do that, we will fail. Although in the beginning it is unavoidable. In the beginning we always, we try to compare Vedanta with our files. So I have all my spiritual files, and then I say, okay, so this sounds very good. Let me compare. Let's try to fit. And then gradually we see the beauty, the elegance of Vedanta, and then we say, no, it's better. I throw away my old files, and I just listen to it without comparing or judging it, you understand? So it grows in that sense. Right, Claudio? Claudio, like everybody else in the beginning, was trying to fit Vedanta. We see its spiritual knowledge, but it's natural, So it is listening with unprejudiced mind to the teachings of Vedanta unfolded by a teacher, and manana is using the unexamined logic of one's own experience revealed by Vedanta to clear our beliefs and opinions about my nature, the nature of the I, the nature of the self. We know Vedanta is the examination of our very practical day-to-day experience of light, but we're going to examine it really in the light of these teachings that reveals something that is so obvious, but somehow we don't notice it through our samsaric life. You understand? So manana is that you're going to take the teachings, and then you're going to apply the teachings against your experience, following the logic. Vedanta is analysis of experience which were not properly examined by us. We haven't really properly examined those common experience that reveals that we are none of the three states. So and so on. All teachings are just based on analysis of experience which were not properly examined before we got in contact with the Upanishads, with Vedanta. So that is manana. And then this manana results in nididhyasana. So it may be a little bit confused, but nididhyasana is when you just understood. Okay? But sometimes we have to say, oh, you have to do nididhyasana, because it can be also seen as application of knowledge. You understand? So you have ignorance, the ignorance force, the soldiers of ignorance start invading your land, and then you have your arm of knowledge and go there and push them out, So this is application of knowledge, which can be also referred as nididhyasana, but literally nididhyasana is assimilation of self-knowledge. Vedanta is not theory and practice. Some people with clear self-knowledge still feel they aren't free, so they need more nididhyasana. So again, nididhyasana here it's an interesting word. That's why sometimes I say there is no fine line between Sravana, manana, and nididhyasana. There is no clear line, let's say, because you say like, okay, you need more nididhyasana. No, it would be more correctly, technically speaking, correct to say if people with self-knowledge still feel they are not free, they need a little bit more manana to remove certain doubts that are undermining, it's firm and clear self-knowledge, or they need more Sravana, or they need to go and review the qualifications. Maybe there are some qualifications that is the obstacle there, So there are many ways to see what nididhyasana is, but fundamentally nididhyasana is assimilation. This fact gives rise to one of the most popular enlightenment myths, that since the knowledge has not set me free, I need an experience of the self to confirm the knowledge. This is very common, very, 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 very common. Most people, they get attracted to Vedanta, but they still remain suspicious. They say, oh my God, this self-knowledge, this may be only intellectual knowledge. It's only theory. You understand? Okay, I understood, but I'm not gaining any benefit from going through this logic, these rational presentations and analysis. It's not transforming my life. I'm still identified with my limited body mind and so on. And then the first thing that crosses our mind is, okay, so maybe what is missing here is a nice, sexy epiphany, a sexy non-dual epiphany that proves to me that I am the self. So it's very common. People say, okay, now I heard everything, I understood, now I'm going to meditate to see if something happens that I can validate Vedanta, okay? So Vedanta cannot be validated by any mystical experience. Mystical experience, they come out of the mind. Vedanta is revealed from somewhere much beyond the mind. You understand? It's revealed knowledge that comes from consciousness using the Lord Ishvara. Okay, through Ishvara, pure sattva, containing the knowledge of the entire cosmos. This spiritual knowledge is revealed. Therefore, it does not come from the mind, but epiphanies come from the mind. So the mind will never validate that which is the causeless cause of the mind. Okay? And this is a myth because I'm always experiencing the self owning to the fact that reality is non-dual consciousness. So the idea of having an epiphany is so that I have an experience of the self. Of course, an epiphany is an experience, and I have an experience that's going to validate the knowledge I am the self. So I am the self, so I have to have an experience that validates that knowledge. But the self is not an object of experience. And furthermore, the self is being experienced 24/7, all the time, through age. As what? The self is being experienced as the light that shines in the human intellect, make myself also a knower experience of this projection. But I am the light that allows me to know what I know. I am the light, I am the consciousness. What is that by which I know what I know? What is that by which I hear what I hear? I see what I see. What is that eye that allows me to see what I see? So we know that the eyes, they are nothing. We can pull the eyes, or we can put it back again together, maybe it's not going to stick properly anymore. But we know that the eyes do not see anything. Yeah? And then there is something beyond the physical eye, which is our subtle eye. Yeah? And then the subtle body still matter. And then there is something beyond the subtle body, beyond the three bodies. Okay. And that something is conscious existence, our true limitless nature, which is within any one of our experience. So I don't need to experience, no, but I want to experience objectively. Impossible. Why you want to do the impossible? If the possible is always available to you, you just need to understand. Stop hitting your head against the wall trying to reach the impossible, and just understand what is so obviously available, permeating, pervading, and shining, and illuminating, and revealing every experience as the subject, not an object. Okay? So that's the point. Consciousness is not an object to be experienced. And if it were, it would be too subtle to experience with the jiva's available means of experience, the body mind. Yeah, so we cannot even experience really objectively our vasanas or our subtle body. We understand them by inference, by analyzing its effects, their effects. So, so even if it was something residing or deposited on the subtle body, it's too subtle for the mind to objectify and experience. So the problem is lack of qualifications, and the qualifications are presented here as discrimination, dispassion, and then control of mind, control of the sense organs, control of the organs of actions as well. The sense there, they include the sense of reception and the sense of action, you know. So the organs of action, the organs of reception, it's all include there, the sense, because we know, I mean, if you want to really do this work efficiently, you cannot have your sense organs and organs of actions out of control, because you are there, you sit to read the scriptures and to contemplate, and when you see your legs have gone off the door, and then you see that I'm alone here and my legs are far out there, you know, doing a lot of things. Now you have to have control over your legs. You have to have control over your hands, because the hands, they are going to have good ideas, such as going to the fridge to see what is in there. So we need to control, you know, all these organs of actions as well, the organs of reception. And otherwise our hand goes into the fridge and puts something in our mouths, and then we become tamasic and we cannot contemplate. So we have here control of the sense, forbearance. Forbearance is something that is so important. Now, children, they do not have forbearance. Whenever things are not really according to their likes and dislikes, they kick and scream. They throw a tantrum. Kids are like that. At least I was like that. When I want something and my mom was not doing, especially if it was in a public place, and then I knew I could make really a big sin because she would be ashamed and maybe she would concede. You understand? But Jesus' lack of what? Titiksha, forbearance. You know, if things are not really favorable, if it's a little tough, if something is happening that, oh my God, that's not what I was planning for today. Somebody walks in and now, you know, I have to say hi and spend maybe half an hour or whatever, you know. So this is a lack of accommodation. You know? It is titiksha. You have to know that we have no control over our field of experience, and we need to accommodate. We need to accommodate. We need to accommodate. But if we are stiff and tight, and then, you know, we suffer, and we make people around us suffer as well. Because I was making my mother suffer as well, because I was making a lot of big things, you know. Another important qualification is trust. Trust, because without trust, we can never really go through this process. Some people, they come and they will stay around and they trust, but their trust is only 20%. And then with time, their trust may grow 35%. And then pass another 6 months, and then the trust goes to 45%. And then comes a moment, something happens in one's life, and then somebody says, to hell with all of this, you know, let me go back to my samsara. Why? There was no real trust, confidence, you know, that these teachings, you know, really point me into the right direction, and they are going to deliver me to my destination. And of course, we can have trust only to the degree that we understand the beauty of the teachings. When we see how complete, how brilliant, how elegant, how efficacious, and you start just reaping the fruits, and then your shraddha, your trust in it, start growing. But if you are all the time having difficulty to understand the teachings, so you will never going to have trust in these teachings, because Vedanta is not about blind faith. Vedanta is never trying to recruit anybody, and it's never trying to say, you better believe us and trust us, otherwise you're going to burn in hell. No. You know, please don't come. If you don't trust, don't come. You know, we have this attitude. You know, if you don't trust in the package, teaching and teacher, so just go somewhere else. Don't waste our time. So that is Vedanta's attitude. So this shraddha is, of course, not a trust which is blind, but it's a trust based on what I have already experienced, understood, and experienced as fructification of my understanding. And then I say, yes, I'm just betting all my, how you say? I'm gonna go to the casino, you bet all your...
You put all your eggs in one basket.
That's good enough. I just put all my eggs in one basket. You understand? And I'm fully confident because I trust the teachings. No? So this is Shraddha, and then we know that there is Swadharma. Swadharma is very interesting concept, because we understand what is Dharma. Dharma is very complex thing, can be seen from different angles, you know, but from the standpoint of the jiva, we can say Dharma can be, okay, what is my Dharma now? Meaning to say how I should respond. How should I respond to this new situation that just came to me? So how I'm going to respond? I'm going to buy an air ticket and go, or I'm just stay where I am, okay? So how I'm going to respond to this situation? So I like very much the definition of Dharma as a appropriate response in a proper, timely basis as well, okay? So it is appropriate response. So now what is appropriate response? It's not easy to understand what is appropriate when you are navigating in a field of complexities, you know? So, and we have to say, how I'm going to respond to this one? So of course we need to have quite a certain amount of sattva, a large understanding of dharmas as universal values, okay? We need to understand dharma as circumstantial values as well, you know? And then I have to understand dharma as one's personal roles in life, and not only that, as my personal tendencies, you understand? So there are different aspects. And then we have to put all of this into context and offer a response. So that is Dharma. Swadharma here has two meanings. One of them is is an appropriate dharma, taking in consideration my role in this, in respect to these dynamics here. So what is Swadharma? Swadharma, in other words, is our duty. A duty is something that we do within society in respect to our relationship with the field, you know, so our roles in society. So just to give some examples, so as a father, I have a certain swadharma as a father. So what it means, so I have to act in a certain way as a father. I need to protect my children until they are old enough, and sometimes the children need to be protected until the last breath, and some fathers do that, and and as a son, I have certain roles to play in respect to my father and my mother. You understand? And as an employee, I have different roles. I play and I act and I do in a different manner, as opposed as if I am also an employee, employer or employee, or employee. Yeah. So all of these different angles are going to determine our role, and we need to accommodate that to the way we follow, you know, the way we respond, the way we interact. So what are our text says that Swadharma needs to be seen first by our duties in society, in this dynamic with the people and the circumstances we are dealing, okay? And then it takes in consideration as well our nature. So our nature is what? It's my conditioning. So if I have a certain conditioning, there is an example that I like to play in this circumstance. It's like, suppose that someone has an incredible talent to be a musician, but the father is the only provider and the family is large, okay? And they run a huge shop, okay? So there is this shop, the father is the provider, there is a mother, there are 5 sisters and 1 son. The son wants to play music, even if he does so on the streets, because it's his passion. But then, unexpectedly, the father has a heart attack and dies. And then the son is supposed to be the provider. So what is his swadharma? Is his swadharma to walk away and play music? Or is his swadharma to take over the business because now he became the provider of the family? Right? So which one would override the other one? It is, of course, it's the new role of his son as the provider of the family. He has to step up. So he has to forget about his talent for music because it does not apply in his situational dharma, the situational dharma of the family. So, and then he does that. Oh my God, he's going to suffer forever. And then the scriptures come and say, no, he will not suffer forever, because we are not here to do what we love. We are here to learn to do what needs to be done, and we want to learn to do that happily, with the attitude of giving, contributing, sacrificing for a higher value, which is the Swadharma. You understand? And Swadharma is not me, my program, my talents, my Jesus, I want to live my life. No, you have to bring into context different aspects of Swadharma. Swadharma has these 2 different sides, and in this example, it's easy to see if I have my talents, my conditioning, because someone may have a condition. In the old India, they used to say like, okay, it's easier to follow your acquired Swadharma. There are 2 Swadharmas. One is inherent Swadharma, and the other is acquired Swadharma. For example, the guy is born and he has a certain talent to be a writer, okay? But he lives in a life, in a house in which his grandfather was a carpenter. His father was a carpenter, and he grew up helping his father and grandfather as a carpenter, you know. So now he has this inherent swadharma, which is, I want to be a writer. But now he learned so much about carpentry, you understand? That now this became his acquired conditioning, acquired tendency, acquired knowledge. So a lot of the time it's easier to go with that rather than trying to develop that tendency, that programming, that conditioning, that, you know, talent, which is still in seed potential form. Okay, so I have seen Swami Paramarthananda making different analysis about that in a very practical examples on how to do, you know, especially if not only, we see it very often lately, because in the old days, the son would follow the profession of the previous generations because it was properly established, you know, and you were born in that environment, and then you learn about that, you're already skilled about that. Why to try to, you know? But in the modern society, usually people want to do what they want to do, and they don't even care much for whatsoever impact it may have in the family, let's say, in the people around you, you know. So anything else about Swadharma? Are you guys getting the picture? I mean, I'm running, I'm going through this very fast. Did you understand, Karen? Lynn?
I have a kind of a question. It seems to me that appropriate action is really impossible for a limited jiva to calculate. And so I keep thinking that attitude helps mollify all the problems that creates. And I wonder, is there a scriptural basis for that understanding or that thinking, or is that thinking right or wrong? Or
Well, I mean, you have a good insight there. You say that appropriate action is something difficult for most of us because it requires, you know, requires a lot of sattva and ability to read the situation and take in account different aspects of Dharma, and then offer a response. But all of that becomes more or less natural as we grow, understand? And the attitude comes in when we fail to offer a proper response, you understand? When we fail to offer a proper response, and then the attitude has to come in. And this attitude is a positive attitude in respect to my limit jiva, because I'm trying my best, but still I'm subject to error. Okay, so we need to be gentle with ourselves. And even in the stage of calm yoga, in which I'm not clearly firm with my knowledge of my limitless nature as conscious awareness, but even as a jiva, I have to be gentle. I mean, especially as a jiva, I need to be gentle with myself, because we understood the big picture of Mitya. We understand the vasanas and then Ishvara, avidya, maya, pushing these vasanas, pressing them on our minds. So we have these pictures and we keep doing our best, but we should never fall into mistreating ourselves by feeling guilt. Guilt is really beating yourself up, and it's an act of it's an unloving act, you know. We don't want to hurt others, but we have to begin not hurting ourselves. And to feel guilt and to keep beating oneself up is it is adharmic. Okay, so we need to understand our limitations and never add that layer of complexity, such as guilt. Oh, I should have done better. I should know better. I should never make this mistake again. No, if you're really grown up spiritually, you never buy into that narrative, because you understand Mitya, and you understand, fortunately, hopefully, your nature as Satya. You understand Mitya, you understand your nature as Jiva, and within the relationship with Jagat and Ishvara and all the force operate, and you are very gentle with yourself. This is part of being gentle with Ishvara, because we are integral parts of Ishvara.
Hey, thank you so much for that. Because when I thought of attitude, I was thinking about attitude of offering to the field, the action, but I hadn't looked deeper into the jiva's attitude toward itself. And so that's very helpful. Thank you.
I misunderstood your contribution there.
I got more than I asked for.
Nice. And then we go into persistent focus. So focus is very, very fundamental, as we know. We need to have a mind capable to keep attention on a line of analysis, for a certain period of time to complete the process, of following the logic presented by Vedanta. There is a sequence of thoughts and thoughts and thoughts interconnect, and we need to follow and stretch. The mind cannot be jumping all over the time, the place, otherwise it keeps interrupting. So we need to develop one-pointedness, focus. That's why it's said that Vipassana yoga has its most important play, because we probably all noticed that nididhyasana is always about bring the mind to one point, one object of meditation. So I want to bring my mind and bring it and hold it in one object of meditation. As we know, the best object of meditation is Nirguneshwara or Saguneshwara, but it can be anything that is going to discipline and train the mind to stay focused, okay? And focus is absolutely important. And it was never something strong in my case. That's why I tend to say that the most important qualification is mumukshutva, because when you have an intense desire that can overcome certain lacks, certain difficulties, in respect to your qualification, because my mind was never really totally like that. I was a little bit, too rajasic. But when we develop this burning, intense desire, and then other qualifications, they begin coming to surface, developing. So we have focus, samadhanam, and then we have the most important, which is intense burning desire. And this burning desire is a very nice analogy, because when we are burning, we have no time to lose. Just imagine something is burning, and you found yourself in a big these fires that nowadays have been happening in the Northwest, especially, and and then your body is on fire, so you rush until you find water. Your mind is totally focused, and you the only thing you want is what? Water. Yeah? So once we are burning with the desire for the self, where does our mind take us? Let's go to the shopping. No, your mind is burning with the desire for self-knowledge. Your mind is going to take you to what? To the scriptural knowledge, to the Upanishads, to the teachings, to the self. Okay, so it's a burning desire. And then it has another angle to it, which is a burning desire. So desire is something that is the very fuel of life. Have you ever thought about that? So life does not exist without desires, wantings. We want this, we want that. And then we keep producing this huge machinery factory, producing vasanas and vasanas and delivering these vasanas to Ishvara so that Ishvara can just hold this universe in place. So we are doing this all the time. So desires is what keeps us, our lives coming back and moving day after day. When we get up in the morning, it's desires for accomplish certain things that keeps us going. Huh? So we have all these desires that keeps us going. Huh? So these desires for objects, you know, they are seen as fuel, let's say as wood, you know, for the overall desire, you know, which is a desire for life, desire to live, desire to experience the world, desire to live 100 years. This desire is composed by all these little desires. So these little desires, they are like how you say? I was just saying this, fuel. They are like wood, okay? These are all small fuel, small piece of wood that makes this big desire to live, okay? Otherwise, we go in depression and we want to commit suicide. But that's not the case with us. We love life and we have this passion for life. So all these desires, they need to be consumed by, in the light of the teaching, the light of maturity, so that in the end, there is only one flame, one desire. Just imagine life of someone that in the end desires nothing but desires to know the truth about the self. You understand? So the man, the woman who has only one single desire, it means that desire has consumed all the other desires, the same way fire consumes all fuels around. You understand? So it goes consuming, and then it becomes a huge fire. And then what happens with this fire, this burning desire? This fire for self-knowledge begins what? Begins, how you say? Dissipating, disappearing, going off. Why? Because it has burned all desires. And now it's the only desire. And in the end, it's running out of fuel. And that is a beautiful analogy, because in the end, you have no other desires to consume. There is only this desire. And then when you see this desire is not going to take you there, because this desire is a stressor by itself. And then it starts just coming down. And then the intellect becomes like what? Like the light of the how you say, this beautiful analogy of the wood in the end, it has a choke, né? Choke. You know, when people do barbecue, they put all this charcoal. Huh?
You mean embers, the light of the embers.
Yeah, or charcoal or something. So when we have that light, that is a light that is very subtle and does not move, you know, because it has run out of what? Of fuel. It burns itself, and then becomes a very subtle light. And then there is no excite, there's no movement of fire. And then in that subtle light, which is a lot of the time present as the intellect or the mind of the sage, you know, in that light, the self is revealed as one's own self. It's a very subtle light that does not move, does not get excited. It has run out of desires, and then it starts going off, and then it's no longer a stressor for the intellect. So this, all of that to illustrate a little bit this mumukshutvan, which is a burning desire. And there are others qualifications that in some texts, some of our teachers present this, you know, unfolded with 10, 15, 12 aspects of a human character or personality that we can call human qualities and qualifications, okay? Knowledge that cannot produce freedom owing to deficient qualifications is called paroksha yana. So the knowledge that does not produce a hard and fast conviction in respect to that field of knowledge. I have a certainty, I understood, and I claim that I am this limitless self. So the knowledge, I have the self-knowledge, but it did not produce this hard and fast conviction. And that is owing to some deficiencies in qualifications. Okay, we call that paroksha yana, which is a knowledge that is abstract by doubts which are there because of lack of qualification. Okay, very simple. Anything about qualifications? It's so good to be part of a group of Vedantins highly qualified, so we don't need to talk much about qualifications, huh? Okay, Vedanta meditation. So now, I'm going to ask Claudio to speak because Claudio is a meditation teacher, and he's now with us for more than a year or so. So he should be able to tell us what is the Vedanta meditation that he's presenting to his students in Italy. Have you did the adaptation yet?
No, not yet. I wait. I talk a little bit about Vedanta, but only to I do it for me, and I see that I'm not yet good at speak about Vedanta, but I go on, so I assimilate better. So you know.
Okay. So to actualize the knowledge, I am limitless conscious awareness. The most important thing is to associate with the wise, associate with the Mahatmas, means to say associate with Sattva Guna, associate with the scriptures, associate with the teachers unfolding the scriptures. All of that goes for association, which is the most fundamental thing. I mean, if we want to extend our list of qualifications, we can also see how qualified we are by watching and examining our associations. Oh, I'm associating with a lot of wise people, sattvic people, beautiful people, loving people. Oh, that says much about caring, for example, because I'm qualified, because I'm measuring my qualification, observing my associations. Associations are very important. So we associate with the wise. We study scripture. And then there is another one that we teach others, and teach others is good. And although it should never come as a big desire, if it comes as a strong desire, it means we may have an ambition to be a teacher, and that is a little bit tricky, a little bit dangerous. But teaching others is a very fine sadhana. To share this knowledge with others is incredible, beautiful sadhana. You understand? And we don't begin doing that as fully qualified to do so. I know firsthand experience, because when I started doing that, in the beginning it was easy because I was already teaching satsang before I get to Vedanta. So I was just doing my blend, mixing up things, and then present some new concepts around Vedanta. But once I was invited to step in and teach a seminar in India, and then I said, oh my God, oh, that's interesting. Okay, and I was not concerned at all, because I knew that que sera, sera. No, I will do my best, and Ishwara will take care of everything. Okay, and everybody enjoyed it greatly. It was 3 weeks there in Tiruvannamalai. And so if it comes naturally and spontaneously without someone wanting to become a teacher, like people, after this first seminar, people came to me, they used to call me here and there for a coffee or lunch or dinner and say, so how did you do to become a teacher? I want to be a teacher. How did you do to get endorsed and whatnot? You know? So I could see that the people, they had this ambition, and that is not a good sign. So I try to tell him, man, just take it easy, and if you are meant to be a teacher, Ishwara is going to put you in a position to share this knowledge, you know. So, but in general, teaching others is a very fine sadhana, and I heard that from Dayananda as well. Engage in satsanga. Satsanga is association with the truth, association with knowledge, you know, the knowledge that reveals the truth, association with a teacher, you know, a Vedanta teacher is the best possible satsanga. A lot of people, they love satsangas, yeah? But they love it because they enjoy the sangha part of the satsanga. They go to many gurus that attracts a lot of people, and then that gathering brings about a lot of shakti, a lot of sattva, a lot of silence, a lot of beautiful, peaceful energy. And then people, they say, oh my God, this is my life now. I'm going to put everything I have in here, make a little home, helping the guru to develop this asha and live here for the rest of my life. So I did that, so I can tell you how it works. Okay, so you want to be in the company of the guru because you enjoy the sangha. The sangha is a community of like-minded people associated with sat. Sat is the ultimate truth. But most sat sanghas, they are people enjoying the energy which is created by the group, this group, collective energy that pacifies the mind. But there is no sat because there is no teaching about sat. There is no real, you know, nothing. That is just blah, blah, blah. Yeah? Like I heard somebody say, it's all about blah, blahlogy. Yeah? So blah, blahlogy is all over the place. Okay, so satsang is beautiful, and we have here very small sangha, yeah, Vedantic sangha, yet very powerful Vedantic sangha, and I know that because I can see that you are all benefit, and we are doing that not for long, you know. And then we need to purify our lifestyle and begin thinking in the lines, on the lines of the scriptural knowledge. You know, I don't like this enlightened people think, but people who are wise is because they have learned to think in in harmony or in conformity or aligned with the revealed knowledge of the scripture. Okay, so we need to adjust everything, and gradually we start to develop this Vedantic vision, which means to say you see the world, you see yourself, you know, from this Vedantic perspective. We see as Ishwara sees, we see as consciousness, okay? We see the world from the standpoint of consciousness, we see from the standpoint of this knowledge, you know, this wisdom revealed by the Vedas. So we need to, what is, let's be more practical. What is this? We have to think as the wise thinks, you know, we have to think as self-realized people think. So we need to think in a proper way. So my thoughts, they are just permeated by the understanding of the true nature of reality, the true nature of the world, the jiva and the jagat. And we begin seeing the world from that perspective knowledge, from that platform of understanding. Okay, and then we are seeing and we are thinking and seeing from that platform. But of course, for that, we need to properly assimilate these teachings, and we need the help of our gurus, our teachers, of course. Vedantic meditation is nididhyasana. And nididhyasana is not for gaining knowledge, but it is for digesting knowledge. Okay? So it is for processing, digesting, and integrating or internalizing this self-knowledge. So Vedantic meditation, when we gain the knowledge, we gain the knowledge in the stage of Sravana. So we can stay several years listening or reading and studying all the teachings, and then we are gaining the knowledge. Okay, now I gain the knowledge, but I have certain doubts. And then I have to reflect. We have to really contemplate, reflect, put our intellect to process this knowledge until I really say, I'm absolutely in agreement. So this is clear to me. It's so clear and beautiful. And so, and then we have done our manana. And then comes nididhyasana. So Vedantic meditation is nididhyasana. Nididhyasana is no longer for gaining. You got the knowledge from Sravana, and then you clear your doubts through manana. And then nididhyasana now is for what? It's for integrating, digesting, processing, internalizing this knowledge so that it can transform our lives, transform our emotional personality, transform the way we interact with the world, with other people, with our environment, and so on. Okay, so this is the end of nididhyasana, but we're going to leave it all for next week because we are at 10 minutes over our time. I'm only crossing our time because Dave and Bruce are not here. So they would say like, just kidding, Ruth. Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble with them over the video later. I don't like to cut any piece of the video. So, okay. Anything else? We are good to go? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purna Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon. Elizabeth, I'm really proud of you. You did not go into Samadhi today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, love you. See you soon again. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you, Arlindo. God bless.
Thank you, man.